So what I'm going to do is just a provisional little sketch on this pad of cheap cartridge paper, and I'm just going to show you how it works in terms of the line work. So my first foreground I'm going to draw is some of these, I guess it's a hedge that's sort of grown out, I think, by the looks of things, but it's basically some kind of, I don't think it's hawthorn, it could be beech, anyway. And these are all kind of going up quite straggly. I'm going to just draw a few of them, I don't need to do many, and then they turn over at the top. And there's lots of buds of leaves. So I'm just going to draw some little circles to remind myself that there is lots of, look like spring leaves. Now, this composition of this about 2/3 of the way over to this side I quite like, so I'm going to keep that. So the second thing I shall draw in, not paint in, but the second thing I'll draw in is this pole. So I don't know whether you can see here, I'm using my knuckle on the side of the page. And if you keep your knuckle on the side of the page, it means that you can do vertical, really easily do vertical lines very quickly. It's an old carpentry trick. Now there is some perspective in this. So the top is coming in at a bit of an angle like that. And there's all sorts of stuff. I'm not going to bother doing all the detail here to paint. Now these lines I'm not going to put in as line work because I'm going to do those with a gel pen at the end, a white pen. So I'm not going to line those in. So really that's about it. All we've got is two components in this picture. We've got some foreground and we've got this telegraph pole here. So with these plants I am just going to put in some of the lines, some of the stalks. I'm going to be quite expressive. I don't want this to be too tight. If you draw every single branch here, you are achieving photorealism, and there's a lot to be said for that. It's a really interesting technique, and I admire anyone who has the patience, but I will be honest and tell you it's not for me. Now I want the blue to come down into behind these this hedge here, but there is a couple of clouds that I'm going to leave. Now you can see there's some clouds here, so I'm going to just wet the areas where the blue sky is, and I'm going to try and leave some. Do you know what? Actually, probably won't do that because I want these clouds to be quite soft. So I'm going to wet the whole thing. So let's just drop some water on because it's going to take quite a lot of this. Right, and then once you've got some water on, you've got some interesting lines here. You've got these verticals and these lines that go off in these directions, and that might be a nice way to apply the paint in some kind of quite random lines. Okay, so I'm going to mix up some French ultramarine and some cerulean blue. Okay, and then I'll just drop it in, see where we go with it. I don't like to be too prescriptive. Some smaller clouds here in the background maybe. Don't mind about going over the pole, that doesn't matter. So that's had a little bit of a hair dry. So now I can do some of the bits that I've forgotten, like a tiny bit of blue in here. Oops. And a little bit of blue in there. Now that's too blue, so I'm going to clean the brush, dry it on a tiny bit of tissue, and just pull some out of there. There's a couple of little areas there that I can put a little bit of paint in. I just don't want to break the fourth wall with those, if you know what I mean. I don't want it to be popping out. Okay, so then finally, there's these insulators that need doing, which are these dark red. Here, I'm going to mix up some, what was I saying? Yeah, whereas I end up doing the most random stuff, like, you know, set fire to your art, or how to draw an excavator. So this one should be how to draw an electricity pylon, and that will really ensure that nobody ever finds me on YouTube, because that's probably one of the least Googled searches. So I'm mixing this transparent red oxide with a bit of quinacridone rose. I might put a tiny bit of Van Dyke brown in there just to dull it a bit, and that's our insulator colour. Now these are going to be I'm going to use a bit of gel pen to pick out some reflections on these, so I can just block them in. Now if I was smart or more patient, I could actually put do these in a couple of layers and then pick out some of the highlights in watercolour with a very detailed brush. But I don't want to necessarily go down the route of, you know, that kind of crazy little detail drawing with these tutorials, because I think it's not a lot of fun for me, to be honest, doing exquisite tiny details for hours. Although I do enjoy doing that sometimes, but also I find it's a bit intimidating for people. I mean, you know, when you look at these tutorials and you think this is primarily there just to encourage people to have a go, that's the kind of point of it. So I'll do some more of these little insulator blobs here. There we go. So that gives that a bit of a pop, which is quite nice. So then really it's just these wires. What do we do with these wires? Now some of them, let's see how they look in white. I'm going to cover that grey wire. See, yeah, let's see what I've done. I'll pop that down there like that. And then we're going to take this off here. And we'll take that one off there. It's interesting in white. You can just definitely pop a little bit more. So we'll put a little bit on there. We're going to add in some stuff for the top of that pole. Right, and now the rest of the wires, I think those can be white, but I think I might just put those in grey. I've noticed I've not coloured those blocks in, which is a bit of an oversight. There we go. So if you look at the reference drawing, those are a lot lighter than the sky, as are most of these, and the sky's a lot darker. So actually, if I'd done the sky a lot darker, I could have gone in with the white of those, but maybe on the bottom here, I will just darken some of those lines a little bit. So what should I use for that? So I guess I could go in with the grey fine liner and just wing it. Risky business. Hold up. So yeah, this is a bit chunky because the chances of me staying on the lines are not great, or keeping it straight. Well. And then again with these. And then with these white ones, what I might do is I might do a grey line under them. There we go. And the same with that one. Okay, so I think that's it. I think we'll leave it there. I think that's worked pretty well. This is slightly impressionistic at the bottom. And then, yeah, these insulators that with a bit of glossy pop on them. Now, if you had a French curve or something to put these lines in, you could make this really quite neat. I think that's worked out pretty well. I quite like the looseness of it, but it's got some little dots of reflections which work pretty well, and this is quite fun. I guess the last thing to do is just to sign it. So let's do that. Now this piece, alongside a lot of the art that I've created for this channel, and lots of other art, is available on my website as originals. I'll also be doing some prints at some point, so do check that out, okay? Thank you so much for stopping by, and yeah, have a go at this one, it's fun. Cheers and bye.